Warm welcome. My name is Detlef Fechtner. I'm a Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Börsen-Zeitung. It's a great pleasure for me and to guide you through the upcoming hour of our program in our event, Digital Finance, Future Opportunities for the Financial Sector. I was a little bit nostalgic almost seeing the pictures that were just shown not that long a time ago. We had presential physical meetings, and we hope that there will be the case soon enough. This event is digital, and thank you for connecting today. Few remarks up front. Of course, we know that we are busy after this event, so we will finish on time. The event lasts 1 hour. At 1:30, I'll come to an end on time. We will not discuss only in front of you, but with you as well. So it's an interactive event. And so if you like, you can join in with remarks and questions by mail to streamline at lv-brüssel with a ui .hessen.de. Streamline at LV, Landesvertretung, Regional Representation, minus Brüssel, like on the screen, .essen.de. In the short clip, you saw the announcement of Lucia Petrich, our Minister for Federal and European Affairs, but she has other obligations. So Mark Weinmeister, Secretary of State in the European Affairs Ministry of the State of Hessen, is taking the floor. Mark Weinmeister, please. Dear Professor Dr. Wuermeling, Dr. Fechtner, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you to today's live stream event of the Regional Representation of Hessen in the European Debating Europe series with Professor Dr. Joachim Wuermeling, member of the Executive Board of the Deutsche Bundesbank, and Dr. Detlef Fechtner, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Börsen-Zeitung, as a moderator. We are looking forward to a very exciting and future-oriented topic, digitization, especially in the area of the digitization in the European financial sector. The present corona pandemic has shown quite impressively what had been coming up in the last years already in times of home office, online events, and virtual contacts. We can see the potential and possibilities presented by digitization. Always faster and in a broader way, digital tools change the ways people communicate, live, and work. And on the one hand, this delivers huge opportunities, but on the other hand, we're also confronted with new risks never known before. So we have to know about them and we have to try and restrict them. And the financial markets will have to adapt to the changes due to digitization as well. It's up to the legislators, surveillance authorities, and the citizens as well to make sure that this development is supported and regulated at the same time in order to make sure that possible opportunities are grabbed and risks are put under control. This is the objective for the European Commission as well. And last autumn already, package for the digitization of the financial sector had been presented. The new framework is covering important areas of digital transformation in the financial sector. And in my view, this is a necessary step in order to be up to the challenge. The strategies for building up digital finance and retail payments in a mass volume as well are necessary prerequisites to make sure that the fragmentation of the digital domestic market is being reduced and citizens are being helped by quick, fast, and secure payment services. A fully integrated retail payment system within the EU would facilitate payments in business transactions and would guarantee a convenient and comfortable online commerce. A very important element within the package, in my view, are the legislative proposals for a European legal framework for cryptocurrencies. at the latest, at the time when Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook showed first plans in 2019 to have a global cryptocurrency introduced. Well, digital currencies has become a priority for the regulation level in Europe. The Facebook project DM is indicating quite clearly that we have to keep the rhythm of digital change in order to reduce risks continuously concerning money laundering or terrorist financing. The European financial market stability will be depending mainly on a situation where for digital assets we have prudential rules comparable to those that we have for non-digital assets. So it's most definitely one of the major challenges in the digital finance sector to have the right balance between legal certainty and openness to innovation, and to have digital and monetary sovereignty being secured for the European Union, all the while maintaining competitiveness as well. I see in this package a major opportunity for the EU in order to make sure that innovation and a global competitiveness of the European financial sector are being maintained. A very strong financial sector and a trustworthy legal framework will be important for the financial center in Frankfurt and for young startup companies being in the Frankfurt area, active in the fintech business area. And so I'm looking forward really to what we'll be able to hear here in the discussion between Detlef Fechtner and Dr. Joachim Wuermeling from the Deutsche Bundesbank. So I'm wishing to all of you a very exciting and interesting debate event. Thank you very much. Well, warm thanks to Mark Weinmeister, Secretary of State. So you have taken up one part of the introductory roles, who presented a few elements and a certain evaluation of the package of wells. So you say it's a necessary step, but also a major opportunity. And you're indicating as well the necessary balance between competitiveness and innovation on the one hand, and legal certainty and financial market stability on the other side. So this will accompany, as an introductory word, maybe a few words concerning today's guest as well. Professor Dr. Joachim Wuermeling is well known here in the Hessen regional representation as well. You have a past in the Hessen area. You went to school in Lingdorf, and after that, in the course of your professional career, I have the SCH from Hessen as well, as you can hear. So you have been busy in European matters. I'm talking about the regional influence at the European High School Institute, European director at the regional representation of Bavaria in Brussels, in the cabinet of Peter Schmidhuber as well, in the State Chancellery of Bavaria concerning European matters, and the European Parliament as well. A lot of people know you as Secretary of State in the Federal Ministry for Economics with Mr. Klaus. You were Secretary of State. But you've made some excursions beyond the public area as well. You were in the directorate of the Association of German Insurance Companies, and for 5 years you were a spokesperson for the Sparda-Banken, and so you know the other side quite well as well. And now we would like to welcome you in your role as a member of the executive board of the Deutsche Bundesbank, surveillance, IT, and controlling, three topics that will be interesting today as well. Professor Wuermeling, warm welcome again. It's great to have you with us today. And let's start with a keynote speech from your side briefly, and afterwards we'll have an exchange with questions and answers. Professor Wuermeling, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Dr. Fechtner, Mr. Weinmeister, ladies and gentlemen, good day to all of you from Frankfurt. Wherever you may be watching us on your computer screen, thank you very much for the very nice introductory words and your invitation to share a few words with you today. Last time when I joined you in autumn, we wanted to talk about Basel III, and this will be coming up in spring already. Let's talk about this today. The proposal is still not there, and Dr. Fechtner, I was looking to our discussion today because we would not be talking about Basel III. I was looking forward as well to discussion because it would not be about the corona pandemic, but the digitization of the financial sector, a future-oriented topic with lots of opportunities, as indicated, and Mr. Weinmeister's introductory words. So thank you very much again for choosing this topic, and thank you to all in our audience for your interest. Digital finance is for us at the Bundesbank, of course, a very central topic for different reasons and perspectives. There's repercussions on the euro. In what way will it be made available? Digital euros will have an effect on financial market stability. It will have an effect on bank surveillance as well. And digital tools are also playing an important role in our daily work. And we are looking what the objectives of the Bundesbank may be in the area of digital finance for the future. But we, as banking supervision, are a catalyst or an enabler, as we say in Hessen, German nowadays as well, in order to make sure the future development of the financial sector. So basically, we have a positive view on technological developments, although as supervisors of the stability of banks and financial stability in general, we have clearly a view on the risks as well. From the Commission side as well, there is a role of enabler. That's their view, obviously, in this paper, for instance, and in others concerning artificial intelligence or on the resilience of the financial sector. We can see this quite clearly. And this is part of a global strategy in the area of digitization, Digital Service Act, and so on and so forth. So this is just part of the digitization policy of the European Commission. So it's not quite easy within just 10 to 15 minutes to give you a global overview concerning this major package. That's the reason why I would not spend too much time in introducing the package as such, but rather share with you how we see this paper, this document, this strategy from our point of view. And so in the first point, I would like to try and give you a few arguments to say that this is really a paradigm change that we are witnessing here in the financial area. In the second part, I would like to mention briefly the repercussions that we see for ourselves as banking supervision institution, and maybe a few additional remarks concerning the individual proposals from our point of view. Paradigm change, I said, a huge concept, of course, but nevertheless, I think that a lot of specialists can see that the classical internal market policy, having a priority in putting aside any obstacles in a common European market, well, has been extended by three elements. Maybe even more than just extended, because these elements will be having a more and more dominating role to play. Another element mentioned by Mr. Weinmeister was that with the financial market regulation, one of the objectives is a stronger international autonomy of the European financial markets. From my point of view, this is an objective that cannot be reached in absolute terms. We do have global financial markets and strategic autonomy, the keyword to be found in the document, 19th of January, well, is expressing the ambiguity already with open and autonomy. But these efforts make sense, nevertheless, certainly after the Brexit, where we have a strong dependency on offshore services, as we can call them, and the European financial center is threatened by the strong competition coming from the United States. And this goes into the global concept of the Green Deal as well, and the digitization, that we would have a very strong financial pillar embedded in this strategy, because all these innovation elements and investments also are having a transformation role to play. They have to be funded, and for that you need a strong financial sector. And that's a possibility for us as well to support this objective that the European macroeconomy is funded by our own strength, because this would mean as well that our regulation, our supervision institution, our central banks would continue to have an access to our financial system and be master of their own financial stability. Second objective is that the Commission is seeing itself as an innovation driver. So opening up the gates for digitization of the financial markets, supporting innovation thanks to a more modern, more homogeneous legal framework. And a third element that I think is quite remarkable as well is the fact that the European Union is progressively making available financial infrastructures for these market developments. For instance, thanks to the financial data space, possibly through the digital euro, via European supervision authorities, and trying to create a context here where things would be evolving quickly towards digitization. We welcome all these developments as Deutsche Bundesbank. And we see now already major changes in the monetary system through tokenization, through the IT and others. So in that sense, we see an obligation for ourselves as well to contribute to this and accompany the process to make sure that the environment allows all actors to be active in such a renewed context. And an important element here is that the different proposals would also try to win back the supervision area lost through fragmentation of fintechs and extend it towards new products. And here we are using instruments turning away from the classical universal banking supervision. So one banking supervisor supervising the whole institution and having the whole activity under control. This is not the case any longer, because with fintechs, big techs and others, and new products as well that were not covered by regulation efforts, cryptocurrencies, for instance, and others, well, from this universal supervision role, we are going into a matrix of supervision activities, institutional supervision from our side, others having the supervision for third-party service providers, cloud, others having supervision concerning cryptocurrencies, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of major changes actually concerning the whole setting of the supervision activities, far-reaching modifications, but it's necessary here to still support innovation capacities. When we're having a look at the different rules here, we can certainly identify certain points where we could still have a few reservations. Maybe with supervision responsibilities is not so much the role. It's a rather standardization body and not responsible for supervision. So this would not be the ideal role for the EBA. ECT supervisory mechanism should rather be taken up having already a role to play in this supervision area on a daily basis, with about 5,000 to 6,000 people working for them all over Europe and knowing about the daily practice. If you have a look at the whole setup and talking about sandboxes, as it says, well, I have a reservation as well, because this could create a situation of arbitrage, regulating arbitrage, when one are being involved here and others are not, and the rules, for instance, for liquidity or on capital, well, they have been put up for a good reason, so there should be a careful approach here when certain actors are more or less taken outside regulation. And if I have a look at the rules for cloud services, it's certainly a good approach. So the very rare cloud service providers should be submitted to European supervision. But what is not clear yet at all is how the effect would be of such a certification in the banking supervision, because we have the rule that the bank is taking up cloud services, keeping the full responsibility for this, and being liable also for possible problems. So what about certification in this area? The banking supervision, should it accept this as being a supervised situation, avoiding double verifications. And on the other side, we have to wonder how such a certification would take away some of the liability for banking management or executive boards concerning their supervision. Or maybe a final remark, ladies and gentlemen, and dear Dr. Fechtner. With all the positive evaluation concerning proposals, allow me one other indication that the financial markets are nevertheless a very complex and fragile system, actually. And we had the financial crisis, the debt crisis. We could see that minor dysfunctionalities could have a major impact on financial markets and their balance with far-reaching consequences. And as a Euro system and as a Bundesbank with our responsibility for the current value and financial stability as well, we would recommend that changes in this area are done with good foundations and always keeping a view on the global situation. But usage of new technologies, digitization of the financial sector, well, at the end of the day, they will rather reinforce the financial stability, thanks to the usage of technologies allowing to have quicker insights, quicker processes as well. And that's the reason why we would see the technological development as a whole in a positive way. As a Bundesbank and a banking supervisor, we can say one thing for sure. After the recuperation after pandemic, the digitization of the financial sector might be the biggest challenge for regulators and supervisors in the banking area after the pandemic. Thank you for your kind attention, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. Well, thank you very much for your keynote, Professor Wuermeling, getting us into the middle of the topic immediately. So you've indicated a few, not weaknesses, but a few spots in the regulation package where we have to be careful, certainly, and where initial diligence is necessary. So priority mentioned by you, is it the right authority that's being connected to the role, or will there be problems between standardizers and supervisors? Then careful for exceptions out of the regulation. So you talked about arbitrage as well, cloud computing. What does it mean for the liability aspect? Who will be responsible here when someone is being certified and has services be provided by someone else? Taking it the other way around as a topic, you said the global evaluation on your side is rather positive, based on which you could certainly continue after this paradigm change that you indicated. But what is particularly urgent here from your point of view? Where do you see, because you said that as a supervisor it would be an advantage for you as well if banks are using digital tools? Is it easier to locate risks? Is it useful for you when banks have a better overview and more transparency concerning their business? And that would be facilitated with digital tools. So where would you prefer a rather quick approach or development? Or in other words, what are the most positive elements in the package? Well, most positive and most urgent as well. Well, that's two different points of view and fundamentals for evaluation as well. concerning the urgency element I would like to start with. Well, we should have an eye on possible blind spots in the supervision activity. So from the banking supervisor's point of view, it's quite urgent to advance here, and the Commission has reacted already to this. In different legislative proposals, there have been mentions of a cloud, so third-party service providers. DORA and NICA would be responsible for the supervision of cryptocurrencies. Here we have areas that are not really being covered by supervision activities right now. On the other hand, we, as Europeans, if I may say so, are certainly having a look at these developments, and on a worldwide comparisons, we are leaders. I'm not aware of about possible proposals in a similar way in other parts of the world. So this is certainly a very positive element in the international regulatory competition, because this would be the orientation point for others immediately. The data protection regulation could see this as well. But on the other hand, we have to be careful here and make sure that with our initiatives, we are not hindering progress, but rather making it possible. And here we need the balance mentioned by Mr. Weinmeister initially. We have to make sure and be careful that these regulations will not reduce or avoid innovative approaches in the digital finance package. We have been able to find a very good balance until now with the ideas concerning regulation of artificial intelligence. Is a little bit too much going in the sense of creating regulatory obstacles rather than making them possible. I'd like to take up this point and tell all of you listening to us out on the web. I have a lot of questions. Maybe you have questions again. So once again, you can send mails at streamline@lv-brussel.hessen.de for questions or remarks, and get actively involved in our debate. So you indicated just a moment ago that you are not quite as happy on first sight about what has been presented by Brussels concerning artificial intelligence. There was another paper concerning artificial intelligence a while ago. Did I understand you correctly that you say that here we have to be careful in order to avoid additional obstacles? So according to you, this should facilitate the means for banks and supervisors right now. No, I have no global criticism about this now. But in the banking supervision, we have been talking about this topic for quite a while now. We have published our own position paper concerning this matter, by the way. But we have a broader point of view as a basis of our analysis. So artificial intelligence not only from the consumer protection point of view, but when it's used in risk management or in other operational areas of the banks, it has to be seen from the stability point of view as well. And so this paper is rather oriented towards consumer protection. But we can see that one application, so the risk evaluation aspects within the EU. So risk orientation is a good approach, not all tiny fancy algorithm to be put under the roof of regulation, but when we create for these apps an acceptance necessity, this can be a very high burden and hinder further developments because the administrative needs for the usage of these algorithms are that high that you rather put this aside. But we would rather have a principle-oriented approach, or certain fundamental rules to be mentioned that users would have to respect, and this would also allow the implementation of rules when technology advances in further steps. So from regulatory small print, we should turn ourselves rather towards general principles to be respected instead of wanting to have prescriptions for all details.
Wir haben eine erste Frage.
Okay, so we have a first question from the audience. A very clear question and very different from Mr. Weinmeister's position. As Mr. Weinmeister said, he liked very much the regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies. And here the question is, how does the appearance of cryptocurrencies square with the state's monopoly on currency? It would be outrageous, all this speculative and electric energy. And there the question is, couldn't these transactions be treated as invalid because they violate legal prohibitions? So what do you answer regarding this topic and regarding the DLTs? Yes, indeed. This discussion is a worldwide discussion. We have some countries who prohibited or sanctioned the use of cryptocurrency. We have Saudi Arabia, Thailand, so I don't know in detail, but this would be one possibility. Some countries are trying currently, but this does not correspond to our ideas of innovation also in the financial sector. And it's against our liberal economic order, if I may say so. And cryptocurrencies are nothing else than a kind of means to exchange. And this is not prohibited in our economy. Okay. You can exchange gold, you can take little football pictures, but of course our state our governments make available a valid currency which is guaranteed. And we will do our best to maintain the competitiveness of our currency, also in comparison with these private initiatives like bitcoins, EWAP or whatever. All these initiatives show the problems with these official currencies regarding, for instance, the international payment. And now we want not to give up the state at a kind of monetary sovereignty, and therefore we have also enlarged the directive for money laundering, and now cryptocurrency is also part of this directive. We also have to pay attention that markets are not being manipulated in order to avoid unfair commercial conditions. And then we must also make sure that consumers using these currencies are aware about what this means. And this is the goal of MITA. So, in my point of view, it's a very reasonable approach corresponding to our basic system of a balanced system between the public authorities and the liberal economic order. Okay, thank you. One aspect of this package is the European data space. So the possibility that banks could make available their data, share and open their data, while also guaranteeing the data protection. But then we also have the banking supervisors who could also make these data available. This could happen via standardization. So Now, when I'm talking to the banks in Frankfurt, they always say, oh, if all these supervisors could give us guidelines, standardized guidelines regarding which numbers to communicate. So, would you also say that a kind of standardization in the relation between the banking supervisors and the banks would be great and would be easy to implement in a short term? Yes, okay, thank you. These are two different aspects. First question, how can financial data be made available? So this would be anonymized data. And of course, our virtual event of today fits this question because the Hessian state government is involved in the Dahlia X project. And Mr. Weinmeister would be more fit to explain this project, but we would be able to provide the system with different data. And we also have the functionality to use anonymized data of the Bundesbank in our research center for different studies. So this is one project, and really integrating the proposals of the European proposal. And I think we can say that all the stakeholders of the financial market in Europe really have lots of data available, and all of them only use a small part of this data. And if we take into account the possibilities, the opportunities of big data, artificial intelligence, and so on, and if we ask ourselves, what about efficiency, safety, and transparency of the financial markets? If we analyzed, used all these data, this would mean a huge advance for the European banking system. And this would also be a very specific European progress, since other countries, smaller countries, and the financial markets only can take into account a really small part of these data, while we could have access to a huge data space. Second element you mentioned regarding the question whether we could organize a data exchange, a simplified data exchange with the banks. Indeed, one of our goals would be to collect data only once from the banks. Okay, it sounds like trivial, but very often we ask this, or we collect the same data different times for statistical, financial stability, monetary or supervisory objectives. And here we want to go towards once only. We want to only collect this data only once. And second element, of course, this needs standardized parameter, and this is not always possible since these data are used for different goals. And then next question, could we be able to generate the data which are important for the supervision directly? And together with the BaFin, we have a digital agenda for banking supervision where this has priority. And this would also make a real different kind of banking supervision possible. It would be real-time or at least near-time monitoring of the whole system, and not only report-based analysis based on data from 6 months ago. So regarding the European background, this could be a huge advantage if we were able to use data in real time without asking ourselves constantly, okay, what are the others doing in Europe? But this requires a standardized definition of different fields of data. There we have the BIRD project, and of course, this means a huge efforts in order to reach this standardization. But the efficiency and effectiveness of supervision in the banks could really be improved by doing so. Okay, great news for the banks. Once only is certainly in the heart of this debate, and I wish you, of course, good luck in your efforts with the BaFin to get the data in real time or near time. And I hope that this initiative will be implemented very soon. Okay, this would be good news for the credit institutions. Now let me talk about the relation between the banks and fintechs. If you read the digital package, you get the impression that the discussion will start about which data will be made available to third parties and so on. Okay. Now, do you think that it will be very difficult at the political level to realize this, since somebody might say, okay, these are my data I collected during 20 years of experiences with my customers. I don't want to share them. Of course, this will not be easy to solve. And it's not a mechanic decision where one can say, okay, this is right and this is wrong, or this is good and this is not good. It will be a difficult political decision based on our values. Okay, and the banks are saying, okay, we have to share our balances, our bank balances with all of you, but we won't get any important data in exchange, which is not quite true. And DSG2 wants to take away obstacles, competitiveness obstacles regarding the knowledge for banks, whether clients are liquid, solvent or not. Yeah. So I was just checking my cell phone, and it was not my phone, okay? Oh, I was really trying to think about putting my phone in the mute mode, but anyhow, and we started our conversation. Of course, I forgot. Sorry for this. Sorry for this interruption. So, of course, in the field of data, everything is very different. The case you mentioned, somebody has been collecting data for years, is one thing. And maybe there are data that are a kind of byproduct of some activity where is no additional value. And here I think we would have to examine every case in order to decide what data should be protected, what data should be exclusively reserved to those who collected them, and which data would be a kind of public good. These discussions will not be easy, and I think we do not live up to this discussion if we only say, okay, you don't give me this, so I won't give you that. And of course, we will not live up to the debate if we only say, okay, all these data are in hands of American big techs, which must not keep them. I think this really requires a political, economic, value-based decision, which will be in the hands of our legislator. Okay, thank you, thank you. Now, if we take the whole picture, you said that with this package, Europe could become a role model, since Europe would be the first one to try to establish standardized rules for a very big space. Now, regarding digital financial technologies, we have the impression this is in the hand of other countries. If we look at the Frankfurter Römer in our city center and we see that people pay with Apple Pay, so we are not very used to our currencies. So are we already a little bit behind the rest of the world, or could we catch up? So where is our current position? Okay, are we already behind the rest of the world, or could we get back to the topic? Well, the payment services, this is a special field, and I'm not an expert on this, but regarding international payment transactions, we are talking with American credit card providers for years now. And there has been a regulation regarding the fees, but it has never been a problem to us that these were American companies. But during the last years, under the presidency, we all know, using the dominant position in order to impose extraterritorial rules, and this explains our wish for more independency. And my colleague has started to work on this topic, launched different initiatives, and now our goal would be to have a European payment tool available in the entire European area. Until now, even in Germany, the three pillars were not able to agree on a standardized system regarding payments in real time and payment standards. But all this is now changing. But of course, we have to admit that we have Apple Pay, that we have PayPal, that we have all these different stakeholders and actors, and there we will see whether we will be able to establish a useful, recognized system. But this will also be in the hands of the market. And I think they are now aware of the importance of this topic. Then I believe that there is another fight to come, and this regards the question whether banking services in a digitized service world will still be provided at a bank or will be part of a digitized platform. It is a very exciting moment right now. We are watching this since we see that different platforms try to integrate these banking services on their platform, not because they want to earn money by doing so, but they want to increase the traffic on their platform. And this is a kind of business model where we first look in a very skeptical way, since it's not a classical business model for financial service providers. And now the question is, within 3, 5, or 10 years, would you prefer to get your remuneration on your Amazon account since you pay everything from this account, or would you still prefer to get your money on your bank account? And I think this will have an impact on the future of the retail banking. Will all this shift to points of sale, to different platforms? If so, then the business model, the current business model of classic banks will not work anymore. And then you have to play the simple role of the financial regulation without being in charge of the retail payments. And this would really be a shift in the paradigm. Thank you. This brings us to the central question of this package. The credit economy, all those involved as service providers. Okay, we have been talking about different aspects, but now the basic question. You presented this package as a change in paradigm. You said that it's really a huge change. We will shift from a universal supervision to a kind of matrix supervision, as you said, and we will enter real new supervision areas. Will we reach this balance between banks and fintechs, between the different service providers, while respecting the data protection? Will we be able to do this? Are you skeptical, or would you say, okay, we have to go this direction and to be a little bit more active, proactive? I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic that we will be able to do this. And we cannot say that in the past the banking supervision was not confronted with different kind of changes. And banking supervision exists in Germany is existing in Germany for hundreds of years now, and they had to face technological structural changes in the past, and the bank supervision had to adapt to these changes. Now, the most important thing would be to recognize the need for action. It would be very important that the stakeholders do not try to use the same tools for ages, since these tools are not fit for purpose. And this digital or financial package is a clear sign of the European Commission that she recognized the urgency of the case. And some of the different points, still have to be further developed, but I think the whole machinery, be it at the regulatory level, but also at the supervision level for our everyday work, and for our standardizing colleagues, we all are able to adapt to this. And at the Bundesbank, we are really doing our best to go this direction. And a few years ago, we have established a different unit regarding digital risks. We are currently training our people in IT topics. We have our team for cybersecurity. We do different tests. We have different standardized processes. So we are currently working on this, and we know where we have to go. And I think finally there is no other option. Digitization will come, whether we want it or not, whether we participate in it or not. And now it's our task to develop expertise, technologies and tools in order to be able to control the future digitized banking system like in the past with other tools. And this is our tasks. And, well, this will bring a few changes in the future. Okay. With this comment, you helped us to come down the stretch, okay? We don't even dare anymore to look forward like 10 years. It's going so fast currently. So if we now take the next 5 years and we take this package, 2022-23, we could see this package become into force. And digital banking within a few years. What would you think? Digital finance in 2026. What do you think? What would you want? What should be the principle of our digital financial system? Okay, we are the guardians of stability, and for us, resilience is and stability of the stakeholders are the main topics. And I would wish that digitization by design contains and takes into account the element of stability. Okay, I would wish that right from the start, the digitization would take into account the risks in order to implement risk-limiting measures. In my point of view, the digital finance package illustrates the wish of the European Commission to do so, even if things have to be complemented and to become more concrete in the future. And I think the implementation of Basel III, I thought the implementation of Basel III would be the most important topic, but I was wrong. I think the implementation of this package for digital finance will be the most important topic. And I don't want to minimize the importance of Basel III, but I think all this highlights different topics, and I think that we need a positive regulatory framework for the digitization of the financial sector. And this is already a very important topic of the current Commission, and this should help us to handle the corresponding risks. Okay, Professor Dr. Wuermeling, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this guided tour through the legislative package. Thank you for this real assessment. Maybe this is a little bit disappointing for one or the other to hear that Basel III will not be the most important legislative initiative. But of course, we are aware of the fact that here we have a kind of shift of paradigm, which is not an exaggeration. And as you highlighted, this could even reach basic existential questions like the traditional banking business. What would be the impact for this banking business? Would this switch to platforms? And so we see that the digital finance package also covers the consumer protection, data protection, the fostering of innovation. So, of course, in the future will come together again in order to discuss this topic. For today, I would like to thank you very much. Thank you very much for your explanations. I learned a lot. I learned a lot regarding the content of this package. And we are still at the beginning, but despite this, you were really able to give us an insight and to make a first evaluation. So thank you very much to the audience. Thank you very much for your patience, for your questions, for your remarks. And our next meeting at the LV Hessen will take place on 31st of May at 1 p.m. And then the topic will be Cyprus. When I started to work here, it was like, okay, Cyprus is also part of the European Union, okay. And then during the financial crisis, we saw that Cyprus played a very important role. So on the 31st of May, we will discuss the future of Cyprus. I wish you all a very nice day, and I would like to see you next time. Thank you.